Hello, hello, hello. Susan Lazar Hart here, your transformational, motivational mindset moment host. Today we are working through what a lot of people are bumping up against is change. You know, everything's shifting and changing. The world is changing. We're changing. We change every nanosecond. Our cells mutate. The air that we breathe, the energy as I'm moving my hands around, that's shifting and changing. And yet, we're the only species on the planet that's decided we want it the way we want it. We don't want change. And if we want change, we want it to be this way. So many people have been asking me, Susan, why does change have to be so uncomfortable? So that's our topic for today. Welcome, your host, Susan Lazar Hart, creator of Congruent Method and the Congruent Living Academy and the Congruent Living Assessment Quiz, which you haven't taken it. It's right up here on our banner. Take it. It's for you to see where you are being congruent in your life and living and where you're not, and how we can shift and change that. Yeah. Because it's a bummer to go through life where everything feels like a challenge, which is what people actually look at change as, if it is a challenge. Now, if you're coming in later, hashtag replay, pop in with your questions, your comments, your ahas. If you're watching now, come on in. It's open for questions. It's not a dialogue or a monologue. It actually is a conversation. Then we started these about 15 years ago with Ask Susan. And if you'd like more of that, go to our YouTube station. I'll put it up here at the end of this. Let's get to it. Change. So whether we're conscious of it or not, familiarity actually calms us. Right? We like the familiar. We like our habits. We like to know, if I change this much, it'll create this much. We don't like surprises as right? Well, what if it was about being curious and not being surprised? This is the ever-flowing life we are part of. We chose this. And our desire to cling to routines are instinctual in that the subconscious has as believing that will keep us safe, no matter what. And that we need to establish order and control in our lives in order to control the uncontrollable. Well, this conversation is all about giving you some tips and tools and strategies that I use, that I offer my clients, and that we use in the Congruent Living Academy to create a relationship with change, with the possibilities of change, so that we're not dependent on something continuously occurring the way that it did in order to feel that we are creating change. So what happens when something feels unfamiliar? Well, our defenses go up and we generate more fear around it. I had a poll here, and one of the, and I love it when you pop in on our polls. We usually put them in at the end of the week, and I go check in and see where people are where you're at. And one of the people here on our Congruent Living membership talked about fear, change and fear. So if we've decided that change is something we have to be afraid of, more than not, we were taught as young children, don't change. If it's not broke, don't change it, right? Why are you changing everything? Why do you change all the time? I don't know who you are anymore. You ever have that in a relationship? Yeah. Well, we are created for change. That's who we be. So what happens is we generate that fear that we won't be loved, that we can't do it perfectly, that we won't be accepted, that we won't be part of something. And so we become more wary of anything that feels like change. And what happens? This wariness keeps us from meeting change where it is. Bizarre, right? We're taught to be afraid of change, and yet at the same time, we're encouraged to grow. Well, growth and change are synonymous. That's the energy that we put out. It's shifting, it's changing. So instead, what we're taught to do is avoid it as much as possible. But you wouldn't be listening to this and you wouldn't be on this call if that was you. So let's get out of those same patterns and situations that halts our ability to evolve. And let's jump in to the changes that we can experience with the discomfort of change. So I'm going to give you some tips and tools at the end of how to actually handle the change that you're about to create. because it's not about handling it. We're told that, handle the change. It's about growing through the change with the inevitable shift and changes that will appear. So I just was working with a client recently, and he was asking to create something really big in his life, and it was a target for him. And as soon as he put it out to the universe, people started contacting him and saying, hey, yeah, we'd love to hear you talk about this. And what occurred for him was the closer he got to the change he was asking for, the more he became wary that he wouldn't have the right answers. He wouldn't be presenting himself and his idea properly. And so what he did was he started to just put it aside, put it aside, put it aside. Well, you can't put change aside. Change is. And as we worked together, he discovered that he was raised in a family where they expected him to be perfect. Now, there's no such thing as perfect. It just doesn't, there is nothing that's perfect. Everything shifts and changes. It's a point of view. But if you're raised in a family in which they're highly critical of everything you be and do, it's never good enough. You tend to bring that into your growth as you grow in this body, in this lifetime, and use that as a reason and justification not to challenge yourself, not to stretch yourself. And so when the change that you're asking for is here, you tend to go to what you were taught when you were very little. It probably won't be good enough. I won't make the grade. They won't be pleased with me. And so once he started to understand that, it was like a golden light bulb that went off. Hi, Emery. A golden light bulb that went off in his head. And he was like, oh my God, I'm asking for something. It's showing up. And yet I'm being with it as if I was still that child. And so that's who does that belong to? You know, who do those emotions belong to? Where did those come from? As an infinite being, would you carry anything less than brilliance? No. And so working together, he discovered there was a different way to be with this. And how did he do that? Well, I'm going to show you right now. He started off, we started off with these tips. Think about the big picture, right? So we thought about the big picture. What did he want a year from now, 3 years from now? He thought about that big picture. Because it's easy to get swept up in the day-to-day stress of what you have to do, what comes along, you know, somebody getting sick, or you losing your job, or the world not being the way you decided it had to be, or you're listening to too much media, which causes too much stress, which causes. You get how that works? So you tend to pull back. So we thought about the big picture. What was he asking for with this request that the universe was gifting him 3 years from now, 2 years from now, 6 months from now? And I asked him to ask these questions. What do you truly want to do? Look at what the changes that are being asked of you. What is it that you truly want to create? Why do you want to do it? For you? For somebody else? Because if you're working with shifting with change and it's for somebody else, it's not true to you. So you've got to ask those gut opening questions. Who are you creating this for? Who are you asking this for? Why do you want it? And who do you want it for? Like, are you asking to create a change in the world? Are you asking to create a change in your business? Are you asking to create a change for you? Be very clear. You see, if you're not willing to be clear, we tend to put things aside. I'll get to it. But once we're clear, there's an urgency in our energies, in the vibrations that we put out. And once you get clear on that, and that could take a whole day of journaling, just going for a long walk, really be honest with yourself with these questions. Then ask yourself, do I have my morning routine set in a positive way? Because if you get up in the morning with the thoughts of yesterday, what you did do or didn't do, it just implodes on what you're asking to create, that great big juicy desire. So we looked at his morning routine. So for yourself, whether it's a meditation, a visualization, yoga, going for a run, going for a walk, doing something to connect to the present. You know, for myself, I'll get up, I'll do my meditation, and it shifts and changes all the time. You know, what is it my intention with today? And then I'll move my body. Movement is so important. We're made out of ball and socket joints, not to sit like a couch potato, right? Then look at your calendar. Look at what you're planning for today. Which one of these is a priority? And own it, honor it, right? Honor it. The thing is, studies show that when you start morning in a peaceful state, in a way that's loving, that's generative, right? That sends the message out to the world, you're more likely to carry that feeling with you and stay centered with that for the whole day. And remember, when one part of your world is shifting, it doesn't mean that every part of it needs to. That's why setting up your morning routine is so important. It's something you know that you're honoring yourself with. It's a calming effect, and it establishes you honoring your word and sticking to your daily rituals, whatever they are, and following them, owning it. Who are you doing it for? Who are you doing that morning ritual for? Yeah. Next, hit the ground running. Right? Hit the ground running. Don't wait. Procrastination will only make you feel worse. Honestly, trust me, I know that one. Right? And did you know that the subconscious does not deal with procrastination? There's nothing in the subconscious about procrastination. It's your decisions, your what you picked up, your belief systems in the world that has to do with procrastination. Your subconscious is there for more life, no matter what it looks like. So during this transition, during this checking in with change, how do you stay motivated? You keep your eye on the prize, right? Keep your eye on the prize and acknowledge the small things, the small achievable targets. Set small achievable targets for yourself and accomplish them. Because what you're doing is you're letting yourself know, hey, I can do this, right? And so what he did was he sat for the whole day and he wrote out exactly what he wanted to say and how he wanted to shift and change this product that he was offering to the world. And once he did that, once he had it on paper, all of a sudden then he could then send it forward and put that in motion. And he was received. And he was so delighted that he actually took the time to ask, okay, I have this idea, I have this product, people are asking for it. Okay, who am I creating this for? How would I like to see this move in my life and living and the people I'm offering it to 4 years from now, 3 years from now, 2 months from now? Well, what do I have to do to put in place today to be present with that energy? Now, one of the things you want to do is, once you have that momentum, acknowledge and allow for the times you're going to fall back, for the times that it's going to be uncomfortable. Let yourself feel that with no judgment, right? It's like, dang, this is difficult. Okay, what do I need to shift and change this? Again, maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's just closing it down. Maybe it's reaching out to somebody. It's not often a how do I do this, but who do I need to talk to get the support that I need to keep this going, to keep this momentum going. Because we're not created to live in a vacuum. That's for sure. So that's where mentorship, coaching comes in. It's the willingness to be present with, who do I need to talk to? Who can I reach out to that would actually assist me in creating greater where I'm stuck? So that I'll need that accountability to go through this uncomfortableness of change, because I know what's on the other side, right? Stay tapped into what you're asking to create in the world. Pay attention. And part of paying attention is choosing to be grateful. Right? Never lose sight of the good that you are creating in your life, no matter how small. When it comes to practicing gratitude, researchers have found a wide variety of benefits. Right? It's going to benefit you physically, it's going to benefit you mentally, it's going to benefit you spiritually, all your fields. The gratitude just keeps going out and out and out. The more you're in touch with what's happening to your day-to-day, your inner worlds and your outer worlds. And so again, you start your day with that how are you planning your day, giving yourself that time for you, being in touch with you, that listening to that voice, that infinite being that chose this body in this time. And what's going on with your outer world. Okay, so what needs to change here in order for me to achieve this target, this dream, this life I love that I'm asking for? It's constant. Now, it's not going to be easy because we have all those those, all that entrainment that we were brought up with. But the more you're willing to tap in and tune in with gratitude, the more that you're willing to let go of those voices that tell you you can't, that it has to be perfect. Be patient, be patient, be patient with you. Be patient with you. The more he was willing to be patient with himself, the more the ideas flowed right onto paper. The more, once he sat back and saw what he had actually written, then, and sending it off to those people who were asking about his product, the more confident he became. The more he saw the possibilities of creating this life that he knew would create greater. So be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up. This is a long term. This is long term, right? It's a journey. It's long term. It's not short term. And just tap into how great you'll feel when you get this done. I'll often ask myself when I start off at the top of the day, how do I want to feel this evening? How do I want to feel this evening? What will create that? Well, accomplishing this, whatever that is that I set out for my priorities for the day, that are leading to my long-term goal target. My long-term target is to generate a whole different way of being in the world, one that's congruent, one that lives in harmony with ourselves, with the planet, by being in the question. So I'll leave you with this quote by Robin Sharma. Change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. I love that, right? Change is hard at first. It can be, it doesn't have to be. Messy in the middle. That's when we're starting to circle what we truly desire, and we're like finding all these reasons, justifications, and excuses. And then when we finally dive in and get it done, it's gorgeous at the end. And then there's another target. That's just the way change is. So, any questions, any ahas, any thoughts popping up? If you don't have them now, I know lots of people are listening. Pop them in later. Let me know your feedback. Let me know if this has assisted you. Because here's the thing, change is. It's who we be. Change is. So how are you choosing to be with it? Are you willing to embrace that uncomfortableness? And what if the uncomfortableness was the energies telling you, come on, come on, you can go through this, you can break through this, you can swim through this. Come on, come on. Kind of delicious, right? Yeah, because it's that feeling of fulfillment and success as you move through each discomfort that creates the momentum for you living a life you love. I adore you all. Thank you so much for tuning in and tapping in today. Again, come on in with your questions later. If you're watching this on our YouTube station, please like and share it. Leave your comments there as well. It's just, change is, it's just, and we are in the midst of humongous changes. And it's about being present with joy and gratitude for the awareness that this too shall pass and this too shall change. Have an amazing day. Live boldly, love greatly, and be that fearless leader you came here to be. Because the world needs more of you and the change you know is possible in creating a life you love. Have a great one. Bye-bye.